You're watching a Highwire Media podcast. White collar burst onto the television scene in 2009 with an intriguing premise. A skilled con artist, Neal Caffrey, played by Matt Bomer, teams up with a straight-laced FBI agent, Peter Burke, played by Tim DeKay, who once put him behind bars. Instead of rotting away in prison for his many acts of forgery, art theft, and slick confidence games, Neal gets an unusual second chance. He trades his talents for an inklet and a job consulting for the FBI's white-collar crime division. Season 1, Episode 2, Threads, continues to build on the show's unique approach to crime solving by thrusting its central duo into the high-stakes, high-fashion world of stolen couture. Anyone coming off the pilot episode will have noted how White Collar seamlessly blends playful banter, stylish heists, dynamic relationship between its central characters. As Neal tries to adjust to his new freedom, one that is heavily monitored by the FBI's technology, viewers get a taste of the comedic friction between him and Peter. The pilot sets up Neal's immediate motivation to find his missing girlfriend, Kate. We also get a glimpse into Peter's life with his loving wife, Elizabeth. By the time Threads begin, we're primed for more cat-mouse tension, comedic misunderstandings, and a dash of glamour. Threads, the show wastes little time diving into the storyline that fits Neal's particular skill set. A major theft occurs in the fashion industry, leading to a new case for the white-collar crimes unit. This is also the first time we see Neal attempt to stretch beyond the constraints of the tracking inklet to prove just how valuable he can be as an undercover operative. The result is an episode that blends classic elements of a whodunit with the slick vibe of a big city-style drama. In tonight's review, we'll look at how Threads builds upon the momentum from the pilot by further defining Neal and Peter's relationship. We'll also examine the comedic beats, the central mystery, and how the entire ensemble cast fits into a narrative that's both breezy and surprisingly poignant. For those curious about the synergy between the show's fashion motif and the gritty pursuit of criminals, it provides a perfect snapshot of how White Collar deftly weaves its overarching narrative around weekly mysteries. Each case a new canvas for Neal and Peter to paint in lively colors. The episode begins in the visually dazzling world of New York City's fashion scene. There's a hush-hush runway show for the unveiling of an exclusive clothing line, a moment that should be filled with artistry and spectacle. However, the show quickly becomes overshadowed by theft. Someone has stolen highly sought-after designs before they hit the market. The intellectual property behind these designs could be worth millions. This is where Peter and Neal step in. Peter's boss at the FBI, Reese Hughes, wants them to figure out who orchestrated the theft and retrieve the missing items before they can be replicated or sold on the black market. Neal's con man instincts kick in almost immediately. He understands that a heist like this isn't just about grabbing a few expensive pieces of clothing, it's about controlling the brand's future, and by extension, controlling a very lucrative industry. Neal, always eager to break out of his comfort zone, or more accurately, the radius of his tracking anklet, volunteers to go undercover in the exclusive fashion circles. Peter, naturally cautious and still unsure about Neal's reliability, keeps a close eye on him. With typical white-collar flair, the episode gets comedic mileage from Neal's infiltration of these glitzy events. He rubs elbows with designers, models, and the occasional eccentric influencer. While Neal chimes his way through, Peter provides a fish-out-of-water contrast. His discomfort in the world of fashion is apparent, and it's a joy to watch Tim DeKay's understated reactions to the outlandishness of it all. Amid the infiltration, Neal zeroes in on a key suspect, a fashion mogul with a suspicious background in borrowed designs. It soon becomes clear that the stolen items may be part of a larger scheme, with multiple players jockeying to profit. True to the show's style, Threads ensures that the path from suspect A to suspect B is laden with witty banter, comedic detours, and glimpses of how Neal's checkered past continues to shape his moral compass. By the episode's conclusion, the real culprit is revealed in a dramatic face-off that highlights Neal's cleverness. Peter's detective instincts and that sense of camaraderie we're only beginning to see. There are constant surveillance, and he can't make so much as a coffee run without an approved radius on his tracking anklet. This episode does a wonderful job of illustrating Neal's resourcefulness within these constraints. When Peter suggests going undercover, it's Neal's knowledge of upper social engineering that cracks open leads. Where typical FBI muscle or direct questioning might fail, Neal's flair for subtle manipulation and impeccable fashion sense gets him inside the suspect's orbit. You see the wheels turning in Neal's head, reminiscent of the old days when he could con his way into almost anything. There's also a fascinating subtext about how Neal's sense of style ties into his identity. From the get-go, Neal is fashion-forward, a stark contrast to Peter's business-casual suits. Episode 2 leverages this difference. Neal's brand of self-expression, from the classic fedora to his carefully tailored suits, is part of his social strategy. In Threads, we get to see Neal truly revel in the idea that clothes makes the man. His infiltration in the fashion world seems like second nature to him, reinforcing the notion that while he's playing for the good guys, there's still a thrill in the con. Despite dealing with serious crimes, stolen designs can have massive financial implications. The episode never loses its sense of humor. The banter between Neal and Peter is at the core, as always. There's a particularly memorable sequence where Peter tries to navigate a fashion event and looks about as comfortable as a cat in a bathtub. Neal, of course, exudes confidence in this environment, gently ribbing Peter while also providing just enough guidance so he doesn't completely embarrass himself. Beyond the main duo, the supporting characters each offer comedic beats. Diana and Clinton Jones, fellow FBI agents, also share wide-eyed reactions to the flamboyance of the fashion world. The show finds small but delightfully ways to highlight the cultural clash, the stayed-by-the-book FBI folks stepping into a realm of runway theatrics and million-dollar dresses. While Threads focuses mostly on the case, there are small but meaningful character beats for Elizabeth Burke, Peter's wife. She's a strong presence in Peter's life, and though she's not heavily involved in the investigations, her perspective often anchors Peter. In episode 2, we see more of their comfortable banter at home, Elizabeth teasing Peter about not understanding the allure of fashion. This interplay shows the audience that Peter has a life outside of chasing criminals. He's not the prototypical obsessed detective who sacrifices everything for the job. He has a supportive partner at home. He keeps him balanced. For Elizabeth, Neal remains a fascinating figure, partly because she recognizes how he stirs something in Peter. A sense of unpredictability, a challenge, perhaps even the excitement of dealing with someone so different. Elizabeth's perspective helps us see that Neal isn't just an FBI informant. He's a third party now, intertwined into Burke's life. Dinner scenes or casual conversations at home highlight how Neal's presence influences Peter's worldview. Without Elizabeth, Peter might be a bit more rigid in how he handles Neal's shenanigans. Elizabeth effectively nudges Peter to see Neal not just as an ex-con, but as someone who's genuinely trying to pivot his life towards something better, while still indulging the flair for the dramatic. Like many episodes in White Collar, Threads delves into the moral gray areas. On the surface, it's a fun romp through the fashion industry. Beneath that, the show invites the audience to ask, where does one draw the line between creativity and theft, authenticity and forgery? If Neal uses the con artist techniques in the service of the law, is he truly reformed? Or is he simply finding a new angle for his old tricks? Another theme is trust. Peter is testing the waters. How much trust can he place in Neal? The pilot ended with Peter deciding Neal might be worth the risk, and Threads continues that line of questioning in smaller increments. At times, Neal's knowledge of the underworld proves vital, but it also reminds Peter that Neal still has one foot, or at least a toe, in that underworld. That tension keeps Threads from feeling like a generic procedural drama. We're simultaneously solving the weekly case while also charting the evolving relationship between Neal and Peter. Threads has a straightforward structure in keeping with many second episodes of new series, set up a self-contained case, allow the main character to show off their dynamics, sprinkle in hits of the overarching narrative. In that sense, it's a perfect encapsulation of how White Collar wants to function. The storyline is relatively easy to follow. A theft occurs, Neal and Peter investigate, they go undercover, question the suspects, gather evidence, face obstacles, and eventually solve the case. What elevates it above a typical procedural is the show's breezy pacing and upbeat tone. Scenes move quickly from comedic banter to tense standoffs, from the FBI office to lavish fashion shows. Director and writer choices help keep the momentum going, using bright lighting, playful background music to underscore the lighter comedic elements. When it's time to heighten the stakes, the show transitions into more suspenseful beats. By the time the culprit is unmasked, you feel like you're taking a whirlwind tour of a glamorous world, anchored by the comedic synergy of the two leads. A handful of scenes and Threads stands out for their sheer entertainment value. First, of course, you had Neal's undercover entrance. Watching Neal blend into a high-profile event in the fashion world feels as natural as watching a fish slip into water. He exudes confidence, tossing around jargon, forging connections with ease. This scene cements Matt Bomer's ability to play Neal as both a charming socialite and a keen detective. Of course, you can't miss Peter's discomfort. Peter in a runway show is comedic gold. Tim DeKay's expression of mild confusion and exasperation at the superficial nature of high fashion are perfectly delivered. An opportunity for the show to highlight Peter's grounded, everyman perspective. He'd much rather be in a stakeout van with coffee than near a catwalk lined with paparazzi. The final act, with the suspect, when Neal and Peter cornered the real culprit, we witnessed the contrasting methods. Neal might use clever wordplay or an insinuation that he's onto the suspect's weaknesses, while Peter falls back on protocol and evidence. The interplay shows how reliant they are on each other to seal the deal. Neal fleshes the culprit out. Peter wraps it up with an arrest. While minor, every moment Mozzie appears on screen is a treat. His oddball theories about how the fashion industry might be part of a larger conspiracy never fail to get a laugh, yet his knowledge occasionally hits a nerve that helps the case along. Alongside the case of the week, Threads continues to tease the larger storyline of Neal's search for Kate. The pilot ends with a cryptic message about Kate's whereabouts, and Neal's unwavering desire to find her is essential motivation. Beyond why he agreed to help the FBI, the episode doesn't delve too deeply into Kate's disappearance, but her shadow looms over Neal's every move. We occasionally see Neal glancing at a photograph or noticing something that reminds him of Kate. It's a subtle reminder that while he's playing the role of an FBI consultant, his heart is set on unraveling this personal mystery. Peter, for his part, is weary. He suspects that Neal might use FBI resources to track Kate down. This tension is not at the forefront in Threads, but it's sprinkled in just enough to keep viewers hooked for the long game. The show is adept at balancing immediate case resolutions with the promise of a season-long arc. And with that, if you enjoyed the pilot of White Collar, Threads will likely cement your appreciation for the show. It maintains a sense of playful intrigue that made the pilot captivating and adds a new dimension by showcasing Neal's brilliance in a setting where appearances truly matter. The story arcs for both Neal and Peter are pushed forward in small but meaningful ways, setting the stage for deeper character explorations down the road. Casual viewers who tune in for Threads might be initially drawn to the glitz of the fashion storyline, but they'll stay for the chemistry between Matt Bomer and Tim DeKay. Their comedic timing, mutual frustration, and growing respect set the show apart from typical cop and consultant procedurals. With the addition of the always entertaining Mozzie, plus side characters like Diana, Jones, and Elizabeth, the ensemble feels cohesive and fun to watch. And yes, it's a case of the week approach, but it's done with a White Collar's characteristic flair. The pacing is brisk, visuals are glossy, and the comedic undertones never overshadow the seriousness of the crimes. For those looking for a show that offers both escapism and clever storytelling, Threads is a prime example of how White Collar strikes that balance. And if you're a fan of fashion, or at least appreciate a killer wardrobe, you'll find plenty to savor in Neal's unrelenting style choices. In conclusion, Threads is a near-perfect second episode that solidifies White Collar's promise. It's breezy, stylish, and loaded with the kind of breezy intrigue that showcases the best of Neal and Peter's reluctant partnership. By the time the credits roll, you'll be eager to see what con or crime Neal and Peter's tackle next, and how the ongoing tension of trust will continue to evolve. In short, Threads delivers on the promise of the White Collar pilot. A con artist and an FBI agent can indeed work together, but trust is earned. Style can be a tool as potent as a badge, and the city that never sleeps provides endless opportunity for clever capers. Whether you're a fashion aficionado or just someone who appreciates a well-written crime comedy, this second episode keeps you fully engaged and perhaps even excited for the next runway of twists that White Collar will offer in the episodes to come. The bell notification button to be notified of future videos. And of course, if you want to support the channel, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/cinemagold. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening. I'll see you next time. At the heart of Threads is Neal Caffrey's ongoing transition from full-time conman to reluctant FBI consultant. In the pilot, we saw him break out of a maximum security prison just to find Kate, only to end up striking a deal with Peter when captured again. Now that he's semi-free, Neal navigates the tricky boundaries. He has to report to the FBI office. Finally, let me know your thoughts on White Collar Season 1, Episode 2 in the comment section below. As always, give it a thumbs up if you like the video. Hit that subscribe button down below.